sells more Aninews cut content. This is how strong is the Hestia Familia. 다만 every member's new powers for the war games explained. Our family we're pretty strong. With the leadership of Aisha, when Belle and the rest of the group got separated back in season 4, they were able to defeat the dungeon boss, that like Leviathan Hydra-like creature.
Freya Familia about to duke things out in a wargame for the ages, I figure you might want to know exactly what both sides are dealing with. There's Freya with her level 7 Otar, 3 level 6s, 4 level 5s, and countless level 4s, then...
Oh, I didn't realize that the siblings were only level, what was it, 5? 5? Yeah, so level 6s, Otar's like 7 obviously. Heading, the Chuni dude, and who else is it? The Anya's big bro level 6, level 5, and then the rest level 4.
6s, 4 level 5s, and countless level 4s, then Hestia with Belle, 4 level 2s, and possibly Ryu.
Yeah, we're cooked. Our family is cooked. But how do Hime got level upper? How do Hime can level up? Ryu is very strong by herself, and Belle can carry.
Obviously, the Freya Familia has the clear advantage, but the way the Hestia Familia will have to make up for it is what I think will make this fight so interesting. I mean, we've seen the Hestia Familia pull through when the odds were stacked against them before, but this is just a completely different level of unfair.
But it's also not just our family versus their family. We got like the entire faction of Horario on our side, minus, you know, Loki's side because they banned that.
It's a challenge that'll require pretty much everything the Hestia Familia has to offer. So, in order to make all that perfectly clear, here's an update to how strong every person in the Hestia Familia is.
What the hell is this art? It makes them look so much more cool. Also, the Lily fan service is insane.
Belle I had covered last week, so if you missed that or the basic recap on how leveling works, feel free to go watch the first few minutes of that video. If you're already familiar and know what these numbers mean, then let's start things off with Lily. The primary supporter to Belle on his adventures and the lead strategist for the Hestia Familia during expeditions.
She just hit level 2, great. But Finn also coached her in the most recent episode with all the different strategies.
Prior to this expedition, she was at low to mid stats for everything, but it was after that she had come back with stats looking like this. A 100-point increase across the board, and
it makes no fucking difference. It blows my mind. She had no business being in the lower levels of the dungeon, man. But it's not like she's a frontliner. She's support. She's support, so it doesn't really matter.
A whole rank upgrade for strength and magic. This may seem marginal in comparison to Belle, but for anyone not in possession of Realis Freeze, to go up this much in a single adventure was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, the improvement that was the most important for her is that 1 point progression of her magic from the E rank to D rank.
Prestige.
Since the condition for leveling is the possession of at least 1 D rank or above ability, Lily achieving it here meant she could finally go up to level 2 now.
Cool.
She had done quite enough already to overload her Falna with Excelia, so the only other requirement was that. This makes her stronger than most level 1 adventurers now, which for reference is more than half of all the adventurers in Horario.
That's actually crazy, and that really shows that we're cooked. It doesn't matter if you have thousands of level 1s, bro. A single, like, I don't know, level 2 or like level 3, they could just wipe them all out. It's just the difference in power is insane.
It's a significant buff that lets her run faster, jump higher, and hit harder.
Okay.
In fact, with just a little bit of focus, Lily could now jump from the street straight to a second-story rooftop.
Oh, definitely. Oh yeah, we're gonna win. Yep. We're definitely gonna win. Lily is now rooftop level. She can jump very high.
It was the well-earned payoff of all the hardship she's been through. She had fought the Moss Huge and defeated the Amphispina, then outwitted those in the wargame and helped the Xenos. Yep. Most importantly, she had escaped her torturous imprisonment with the Soma Familia.
The drug addiction part.
All this were extremely challenging feats capable of leveling her up on her own. One of the perks that came along with it was the choice of a brand new development ability. The options were abnormal resistance and compounding, both of which served as useful support tools in their own way. Since Lily wanted to support Belle the best way she could though, she figured resistance was the best option to do that.
Okay.
You see, by eliminating the effects of poisons and other negative status ailments, Lily was effectively reducing the risk of her being sidelined. All she wanted was to support Belle.
Lily ass fan service just out of nowhere last episode, bro. I'm glad that he included that in, but there's also scenes where her face is not even in the frame, but you can still see her ass. But yeah, it's smart that, you know, she has a role to fulfill, so, you know, work around the fucking debuffs.
At every opportunity, and this was an ability that ensured she could stay by his side longer. Now, We already know her magic Cinderella allows her to shapeshift, but to quickly recap what else it does too, it's limited to anything around the same size of herself and enables her to copy the physical abilities of those she's mimicking.
Okay.
This could be an
She could then mimic as one of the siblings, the 4 quadruplets, right? Maybe she can manipulate them that way.
enhanced sense of smell and hearing, or even additional limbs should whatever it is she's transforming into have them. Moving on to her skills, Artel Assist is the passive support skill allowing her to carry more weight, while Command Call is a brand
There's a skill for bag carrots because this bag is way more heavier than bigger than her. Oh my god.
Command Call is a brand new one gained from her level up.
Yeah.
To put this new one as simply as possible, it's
Motivate.
a powerful communication buff that enables her words to travel farther.
Okay, the speech. That was command. What was it? Artel Assist. No, what the newest skill? Artel Assist is a command call. Okay, speech ability.
That enables her words to travel farther. So long as her voice is raised past a certain threshold, that voice could be heard by those in the most intense battlefields.
Cool.
They're words which can only be received by those in the same Familia, and the max distance it could travel was dependent on Lily's level. The fact it's limited to those wearing the same Falna as her, though, makes this almost similar to a form of telepathy. I imagine it'll be a very useful skill in the battle to come.
Yeah.
So, while I don't expect to see Lily anywhere near the front lines, her impact as a strategist will most certainly come into play.
It would be really cool if we got, our expectations subverted by thinking that Lily is a backliner strategist only, but due to, her being the same shape as the siblings, the quadruplet, the level 5s, right? I don't know, Lily could potentially go manipulate them, who knows?
Especially with Command Call allowing her to convey orders from a safe distance away from the battlefield. This brings us now to Welf, who, while already
Mr. Magic Sword. I don't know, he just makes magic swords and they just do crazy shit.
level 2 for quite a few months now, has further improved his usefulness with the invention of Welf Magic Sword.
Yeah, so like, what is this? He realized that he doesn't need an actual shop, like a blacksmithing workshop. He can just craft this shit wherever he wants now. He's got portable blacksmithing.
Yes, his stats did go up a total of 200 after the expedition, but those stats aren't necessarily what his party members rely on him for. No, Welf's true value comes from his creations. Before, he was only ever able to craft magic swords fated to crumble, but after his newest creation here in the dungeon, what Welf produced was a sword far greater than what any of his ancestors could create.
Let's go.
It was a magic sword which drew power directly from its user, rather than draw from the finite source within itself.
I wonder, I guess we have more uses of the sword. So now it's more dependent on Welf's own stamina, power.
So, not only did this prevent the sword from shattering over time, but it also made it so its strength would be directly proportional to the person using it. Whenever the user grew stronger, so too would the power of the sword's magic.
Can this now be borrowed by Ryu? Because this is not bound to Welf, right? Because if the sword is proportionally strong to the user, having Welf wield it is kind of pointless because Welf's level 2. Give this sword to Belle. Give this sword to someone else like Ryu. It would be way better, right?
It's a unique characteristic that makes
Exactly. When Ryu wielded the magic swords versus, the Apollo War Games in the beginning of Season 2, that was hype.
It's a unique characteristic that makes his magic swords fundamentally different from every other magic sword. Combine this with the fact his swords were already capable of exhibiting magic surpassing that of Aiz and Riveria's, and what you get are creations the goddess of the forge herself deemed as adequate.
Okay.
The peak he strived for was
She has a high
still incredibly
standard.
distant, but for Hephaestus herself to call his creation adequate, well, that was an honor not just anyone received.
Very
It was
picky
as
girl.
if he'd just been recognized as a true blacksmith for the first time ever.
It's like an Asian parent. You go give them 100% on a test and they're like, that's okay, I guess.
In any case, the individual power Welf provides may not be much, but the power he now brings from the forge is unfathomable. Reason being that if his new swords do truly scale with the user's magic, then I can only imagine how powerful one would be in the hands of Belle.
Yeah, Belle, Ryu, don't give it to Otaro though. Could you imagine that we're getting cocky with the magic swords and it accidentally, Otaro gets one? Somehow, some way, and we're like, oh shit, now we really about to feel it.
Even if it isn't Belle who's using it though, the mass production of these new unbreakable magic swords should even the playing field against the Freya Familia.
Yeah.
It doesn't tip the scales enough
Should give it to Aisha too. Should give it to Aisha. And the Tsubaki girl too. Yeah, this new girl. She's not new, but she's definitely a newer character to show up since it being introduced from a long time ago.
Enough to guarantee them victory, but maybe just enough to give them a fighting chance. Now, as for Welf's other abilities, there's his anti-fire magic Will-O-Wisp, then the newly acquired skill Veritas Burn. For those who don't remember what Will-O-Wisp does, it essentially cancels out the casting of fire magic and can sometimes even cause it to self-destruct.
Okay.
So, not only does it negate magic, but it can also cause damage if the magic is correctly destabilized in the process.
Gotta be fire though.
It's a very strong counter against mages.
Any magic, it's not just fire?
Veritas Burn is the skill Welf gained from forging in the dungeon, effectively increasing his proficiency with fire.
Okay.
You see, in addition to granting him resistance
I think this is still fire only, right?
to flames, it also amplifies the power of his fire element attacks. This applies to the swords he creates too, so any sword Welf creates that deals with the element of fire would become far more potent with it than it was before.
Cool.
That's pretty much it for Welf, so next we have the Hestia Familia's martial artist Mikoto.
Mikoto does crazy suicide attacks all the time. I think that it's definitely intentional that the author creates these scenarios where Mikoto like puts her life on the line for some crazy fucking strategy. She did that in season 2 to get Haruhime back. She did that against the dungeon floor boss too. Some sort of crazy gravity magic, right? While being like submerged underwater. Like she goes crazy with these plans.
She's the only one who didn't gain anything new from the expedition, but
What?
she did, however, raise her stats by quite a lot.
Okay.
A massive 426 across all her attributes. Magic was the only one that saw very little growth, but all the others from endurance to agility jumped by close to 50 for each. It's the most significant improvement for any non-Bell member of the Hestia Familia ever.
But got no
It
new
did
skills.
give birth to the option for a new skill, but apparently the skill was so ridiculously crazy that Hestia reasoned it far too dangerous for her.
What the fuck? Why'd you nerf Mikoto there? She should get it. We need it for the Freya family.
It was supposedly one of those self-destruct types.
Oh, okay. There it is. There's the again. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, I don't know why, but Mikoto keeps doing these self-destructive strategies every single time. Like 100%, she's gonna crash out again during the war games. You know she will.
Normally, Hestia would always explore something unknown like that, but when it came to endangering the lives of her children, she would always put
Suicide Samurai? I think you're right. That's the whole theme of, you know, the whole harakiri or like seppuku. Right? The dishonor. It's not saying Mikoto has dishonored herself, but there is that like self-destructive, you know, kamikaze style as a samurai, and Mikoto kind of like embodies that in a lot of the arcs.
their safety above everything. So, while Mikoto could have developed a powerful new skill, Hestia made the executive decision not to.
Okay.
This leaves her with the magic and skills we've already talked about before, but to quickly recap what each of them does, Futsu no Mitama is her iconic gravity magic, while Yatano Black and White Crows serve as her radar. We already know her magic increases the strength of gravity within a certain area, but what you may not remember is that her radar skills detect both allies and enemies.
Okay.
The Black Crow version detects any monsters Mikoto has previously encountered, while the White Crow version does the same for allies. It is, however, limited to those in the same familia, but it's still very useful in surveying the area. So, regardless of whether her target is concealed or not, if they're in her range, then Mikoto can find them.
It's pretty useful for the hide and seek. I know that the hide and seek is mostly the gods hiding, but just to sniff out like enemies that's potentially hiding, this is a useful scanning skill.
Now, part of what makes Mikoto's magic so useful is the fact that she can cast it using concurrent chanting. By being able to do her chant while moving and sometimes even fighting, that makes its potential uses go up significantly.
Oh, like some other people, they're limited to stationary shit. You gotta like stay in place and chant. And if you get disrupted, it doesn't work. But she can keep moving around and doing it.
It's a high-level casting technique that makes her magic far more flexible.
Cool.
We've yet to see it be used for anything other than stalling for time, but considering its effect against the Black Goliath and Amphispina, I would suspect it should be effective at least against the lower-level members of the Freya Familia. The part of her that I think would be the most effective, though, is her extensive training in martial arts and ninjutsu. Though not very useful against monsters, her mastery over various fighting styles should make her competent in the PvP side of things.
Wait, why are you showing her getting beat up? Like you're saying she getting good at martial arts. Not like this though.
It's not enough to make up for a massive level gap, but that experience could prove helpful in at least staying alive.
Okay.
So, though I don't foresee Mikoto being a prominent part in the upcoming wargame, I'm sure she'll serve a small part in handling the lesser members of the Freya Familia.
Okay.
Finally, we have Haruhime, who with her
Level upper. Her existence may close the gap between Otaro and the rest of us.
one-of-a-kind ability to boost people an entire level could very well be the most important piece to this upcoming wargame.
Yep.
Before we talk about why that is though, these are the stats she came back with after her expedition. Another 200-point increase across the board and an improvement of magic from the E rank to the D rank. This makes her ready to level up since with the expedition providing more than enough Excelia to overload her fauna, the only other requirement was that. It was a noteworthy accomplishment that spoke volumes to what she achieved down there.
She's so
Since
OP, man.
magic is much harder to improve than all the other attributes, the fact she was able to do so without concurrent chanting and with such long casting times, well, that just made it all the more impressive. It had led to the development of the brand new skill Mikazume no Ho.
Yeah, I think this is like Aisha was like doing like a boot camp with Haruhime, I think. I don't know. Something about like reading books really long. I forget exactly how it happened, but before we went in there was like a whole training boot camp for for her to like just go through these tomes and grimoires and shit. And the idea that you can level up your teammates is fucking crazy. Like in any type of game, you should know that like turn-based games or whatever, you should know that support utilities are way more important than DPS or tank, right? DPS, a new meta unit comes out, it gets power creep, but support, like having like a battery, being able to like charge like a gauge for like a ultimate skill, or being able to like boost comrades, like these kind of abilities are just so overpowered, and that's exactly what Haruhime is.
This is the ideal skill for pretty much every sorcerer, since not only does it increase the effectiveness of all her magic, it also improves the efficiency of the mana cost behind it. It made it so her mind could last longer when casting more. So, for a mage whose sole value lay in the number of spells that she could cast, anything allowing her to cast more would prove invaluable. Now, that's not to say the enhanced effectiveness isn't useful too, since where her Uchide no Kozuchi only lasted for 15 minutes before, this new skill now extended it to 20 minutes.
5 minutes, we'll take it.
More efficient mind usage, and the 10 minutes she would normally have to wait before casting Uchide no Kozuchi again is now likely shorter.
Okay.
It means Haruhime can keep 2 people constantly buffed instead of 1 now. This doesn't include her Kokonoe enchantment.
Haruhime just needs to like be on Bell and Ryu. Ryu and Bell, with the Ryu dual wielding the magic swords from Wealth, and Haruhime leveling up both Bell and Ryu, maybe the only chance we have against Otaro.
Though, which, as we saw in Season 4, is an extended version of Uchide no Kozuchi, allowing her to buff multiple people simultaneously.
Yep.
The max she can do is 9, but given the extensive amount of mana required to make it happen, her personal limit at any given time is 4.
And it's like scaling according to how many QB tails that she has, right? The golden tails, I think there was only like 4 of it before, meaning like you can only buff 4 people or something like that.
Perhaps more now with the enhanced efficiency though. Either way, the key
That's 5 tails here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
restraint limiting who she can buff and when she can buff them is primarily her and the amount of mana she has. Should she buff too many people at once, then Mind Down would be all but inevitable for her. It's why Haruhime has taken it upon herself to become more proficient in combat, but no matter how she practiced and what weapons she used, fighting just wasn't her forte.
Yeah, she should play to her strength, right? There's no point investing into parts that you're not really good at. Maybe to become more well-rounded, but I think there's going to be greater return of investment if you just do what you're good at. Be a one-trick pony. Learn how to fucking level people up more and for longer.
As much as she wanted to not be a hindrance in the mid to lower floors, the best thing she could do for everyone was just stick to sorcery. Leveling up would certainly make her capable of defending herself, but to do so now when she couldn't even handle her level 1 self, well, as Aisha described it, that would be like giving a cannon to a baby. The sudden increase in abilities would be way too much for her to handle. Thus the reason Hestia decided to hold off on leveling her up here.
Okay.
With the war game coming and every ounce of strength needed though, it'd be no surprise if Hestia decided to do it anyway. I mean, with magic as essential as hers, anything which would allow her to cast it more would be helpful to say the least.
Tell me she did it then?
If we're realistically talking about Belle facing any of the first tier adventurers in the Freya Familia, Haruhime's magic is the only thing I see making that winnable.
Yep.
A new level
And forget them. Think about Otaru, bro. That's a level 7. How do we beat that?
5 Belle is already on par with low level 6s, so above level 6 Belle should be enough to handle these high level 6s.
Yeah, sure.
I won't say it'll give
I don't know about this guy though. We need Mamma Mia. We need Mamma Mia to show up, bro.
him a fighting chance against Otar though, because as I'll talk about in another video soon, his stats look like this.
What a fucking busted unit, bro. This is unfair. That's interesting though that of all the stats, I don't know exactly which one this was. It's a D rank. Everything else is like S 999, max to the fucking max. Yet D. I wonder which one that is.
Yeah, if there's ever a scenario where Belle's fighting him
Magic? So he's like pure brute force. Stamina, agility, endurance, dexterity, whatever. Everything is OP. But for him, even Otaru, D in magic. Okay.
one-on-one, I don't foresee him beating Otar ever. I do think Haruhime will be playing an absolutely vital role though, so it's good to know exactly what it is she's capable of now.
Haruhime buff Mamma Mia. Mamma Mia take out Otaru. That's my game plan.
So as long as she manages her mana properly, she should be able to keep at least 2 to 3 people buffed at any given time.
Alright.
But yeah, that's every member of the Hestia Familia. Ryu is practically a member too, but if I was to talk about her,
Ryu
then
is
that
hiding.
would be in a separate video.
Okay.
For the ones I've talked about now, there's clearly been some significant improvement from my
Yo, what about Aisha? I know Aisha's not really like an actual member of her family, but she's always around.
last video on them. From level ups to brand new skills, every member has either improved on their specialties or made themselves more versatile.
Yep.
They might not be a top
Jesus Christ, this is an aggressive frame. I think this is beginning of season 2 in the banquet of Apollos.
Familia like Loki or Freya, but with 2 adventurers with the rarest skills in Arario, and a blacksmith capable of forging one-of-a-kind army-destroying weapons, the Hestia Familia certainly has the groundwork to become.
Was that season 1? I swear to God, this is season 2 content. Maybe it's different. I do remember like a banquet dance kind of thing for like the first episode of season 2.
One. I think this is what makes the timing of the war game so great, since the Hestia Familia isn't at a point yet where they know for a fact that they can beat the Freya Familia. It's one of those seemingly insurmountable challenges where you're truly wondering, how are they gonna do this?
I mean, it's an objective-based game though. You don't need to beat Otaru necessarily. Of course he's gonna be the last one to guard Freya, but the goal is to find Freya, and if you find it, we win. It's hide and seek. So I think that there's unique ways that we can play around Otaru and win the war games without really defeating him in a 1v1.
That's why these next few episodes are going to be so amazing, and I'll be making lots of videos to go along with them.
Great.
So if you liked what you saw and want,
I did. Thank you, Mr. Aninews, for the video. Here's the link to Mr. Aninews' channel. Give the video a like. Sub to his channel if you haven't. And I think it's going to be a combination of obviously Haruhime buffing more than 1 people. It's definitely going to be Belle and Ryu, probably. If not Aisha too. And we need to give them magic swords. I know that Belle has his own thing going on, right? Argo Vesta with this dagger, but give Ryu the magic swords, level her up along with Belle. Try to take down Otaru together. I don't know if that's still going to be enough though.